You, my good sir, might think you understand the concept of a bullet hell from Weenie Hut Jr. experiences like Binding of Isaac and Nuclear Throne. Absolutely pathetic. But you haven't even seen bullet hell until you step foot in the Gungeon. Oh, sorry, my bad. I guess to be more inclusive, I'll say projectile hell. It feels like this beautiful game was around for the signing of this name, considering how it basically fits every criteria surrounding bullet and hell. And you know what's the most embarrassing part? The inhabitants of this Gungeon that will viciously murder you over and over again look like this. And this. And this. And finally, this. Sure, they managed to conjure up disgusting clusters of bullets that track your every movement. But could you imagine, while taking your final breath on this earth, this being the last thing you see when you die? I swear every enemy in this game looks like they're awkwardly posing for a middle school picture. It almost makes me feel bad for killing them. Almost.
I'm a holster rhyme, dragon tooth, dungeon wing to whisper one truth. Body the floor, bullet to proof. Ammo willing, pass killing, gunshot shoot. Non-stop hammer, hot rubber, man, the shots, and a lock. Keep cannon, hot cannon, hot seas, spread a lot. Peace, blast, and a got peace, pass, last, man, stand, cut, speed, freeze, cross, stand.
Enter the Gungeon follows a simple storyline of characters trying to right the wrongs of their past, and they do this by acquiring some time-traveling gun at the end of the Gungeon. And it's hilarious, but the story isn't really why anyone is here. No. We're here for the gameplay, and the game consists of a roguelike gameplay loop, traversing the floors of a dungeon while you collect items and guns to better your character. Now hold up. I know I said the accursed word that shall bring unholy retribution upon any game even remotely associated with it. And most of the time, I would agree with the unholy retribution. Games like Dead Cells, 60 Seconds, and even Nuclear Throne at points have incredibly repetitive gameplay loops that get real old real fast. Now to be fair, Gungeon has a very similar structure, but the thing that separates it is oh mama, that's a lot of guns and items. Many games have tried to replicate this formula of having enough items and outside forces to make every single run unique and entertaining, but none have come close to the way Gungeon pulls this off. The game boasts over 200 different guns, each with unique designs and mechanics. The thing that's great about the items in this game is that you could really tell the developers had fun designing everything. A lot of these guns are so goofy and fun to use that it's always a joy to come across one of them within one of the chests on each floor. If you want to shoot enemies with a Vertebrae K-47, you sure can. If you want to blast away sentient bullets with bullets that are coming out of shotguns that are shooting out of a shotgun shell in your hands, boy howdy can you do it. If you want to use a supersonic proton cannon that shoots out rainbows and uses kittens for ammunition, okay, you can't actually do that, but you believe that you could, just because of how varied and creative the guns I've shown so far are. Not only is the Gungeon strewn with fun-to-use guns, but it has items as well. And these items are equally varied and creative. You've got items that increase your stats, items that break the laws of pixels, and even items that let you flat out cheat. I feel nothing. But the great thing about these items is that they can mesh perfectly with the guns in your arsenal in many different ways. Let's take for example this crown of guns that I've taken from this blue chest. When you pull the trigger on this crown fit for a king, it shoots out bullets in all sorts of directions. But oh, woe is me! This gun isn't nearly as efficient and murdering as I would have hoped for. All of these bullets would just fly right past the intended targets in every single one of the rooms. Oh, ooh, what is this? Homing bullets. Yeah, this looks interesting. Let me look this up real quick. Homing bullets. Enter the Gungeon. Bullets have a 20% chance of homing in on a target. Oh. I am death and destruction! Another aspect that masks the repetitiveness of the gameplay is the various NPCs that you can come across along your way in the Gungeon. All of them have all types of functions, and they all have some kind of gimmick that can help you deck out your character even more. And I love how they're not all just copy and paste shop vendors. This guy only accepts keys as payment for the things that he's selling to you. This lady gives you a curse every time you buy something from her. And Winchester, man, I just love this guy because he can basically give you an item for free because his minigame is just so easy. All you gotta do is use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate all of the sides of the right triangle that you are creating with your shot, and then you gotta find the circumference of every single target so that you can know the wind resistance that the room contains so that you could judge the trajectory of your bullet in a much safer way. So as I was saying, the NPCs, these guys are great. I especially like the character designs of all these dudes. They all look like they would partake in the job that they have in the Gungeon. I mean, this guy's just a freaking keyhole for crying out loud. Of course he likes these things. Now all this talk of repeating and slinging, something has seemed to slip my mind.
Gosh dang son of...
Could it be the guns? No, I already talked about those.
Holy mother...
Oh, maybe it's the items? No, that can't be it. Oh! Oh yeah. This game's kinda hard. Now, I'll be the first to admit that the learning curve is about as straight as James Charles at a gay pride parade in the month of June, but the game does help you out a little bit by giving you all of the aforementioned goodies, and also some incredibly well-designed enemies and bosses. The thing about the enemies in this game is that every time you die to one of them, you will more than likely learn from the mistake and better yourself for the next go-around. And honestly, that goes for everything in Gungeon. The game makes sure that the longer you play, the farther you'll be able to make it. As you progress, you unlock more NPCs that can help you in more situations. You unlock more guns and items from various shops that pop up in the hub area. And the vein that's furiously popping out of your head usually goes away after a few hours. So yeah, it's a pretty difficult game in regards to dodging bullets and shooting bullets back at those bullets that are shooting bullets at you. But overall, it eventually gets better. And I feel like most people won't mind playing longer just because of how addictive the gameplay is. The dodge roll mechanic is probably one of the greatest things to ever grace my fingertips. And they make sure to play with these mechanics with various items and guns that you can earn. Overall, I would say this is an incredible feat considering the genre that it's attached to. But with all of these attempts to correct flaws like difficulty and repetitiveness, there are bound to be a few missteps. For one, the game has these stupid trap rooms. Gosh, I hate these things. It feels like the developers just plucked a couple of Papyrus & Co.'s traps and just shoved them into the generation algorithm. Rather than giving my foe a swift pat on the back for besting me in combat, I have to get irritated by traps that have no right to hit me whatsoever, and then tweet about it later. Now, I would say these trap rooms are somewhat well designed, and they do add a little bit of spice to the runs, but the fact that most of the time they are unavoidable is incredibly infuriating to me. I would say that these rooms are more infuriating than anything else in the Gungeon just because of how cheap it is to get hit by something like this. Your health is a valuable treasure in this game because the runs go on for an hour or so. So to lose half of a heart to this stupid pickle with spikes on it, it's just a little angering. But other than that, Gungeon is a pretty grand game overall. It's got great gameplay with an amazing amount of guns and items and all sorts of things that keep things fresh. Unlike some people